My first ever race came second. I was in a boys' race. I wasn't allowed to race the girls.
Why weren't you allowed to race with the girls? That's really bizarre.
It is really bizarre. So my dad thought the same thing. I wasn't very happy about it. My teacher said to my dad it wasn't fair that I raced the girls.
No. And what did your dad say? That's ridiculous. But you're a girl.
Yeah. Let's not get twisted. Popularity can save you on that show.
Yes.
Because you need people to vote in. And we had so much support, honestly. The Mojo fans... Seriously, our Team Mojo were out in full force. The thing about that is that they're like lifelong. People still message and still back and still support, and it's lovely. It genuinely is. And that's what kind of carried us through. So I always knew how to work the most and expect the smallest, the littlest, which is a really tough thing to change your mindset over, even if approaching 40. And that's not from a point of view from negativity where I'm going, I expect it to happen. No, it's undeniable at this point.
Tell me more, what do you see in today's world that reflects what your mum has drilled into you and reinforced that actually the world isn't fair and they will look at you and they'll perceive you in a certain way and you're going to need to recognise that no matter how hard you work, there'll always be... Hello and a huge warm welcome to episode 52 of Why Care. I'm absolutely thrilled today to be talking to Montell Douglas. Now, Montell is a trailblazing athlete, the first female UK competitor to compete in both Summer and Winter Olympics Games. She's a Commonwealth gold medalist in the 4x100 metre relay, and former British 100-metre record holder. Montell transitioned then to bobsleigh, competing in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. In 2023, she became Fire, I'm not going to do the hand gesture, in BBC One's Gladiators, and she went on to star in the 2024 series of Strictly Come Dancing, reaching the quarterfinals. She has a deep understanding of sports business and has worked within many business boardrooms, including football, charities, and the government, offering valuable insights into elite performance environments and cultivating high-performance cultures across organisations. She is known for being a diversity, inclusion and health advocate, speaking openly about severe menstrual pain and partnering with Bupa Health Clinic to launch their period plan service to support women suffering from heavy and painful periods. She also partners with the Department of Education on their Skills for Life campaign, encouraging people to learn about their health and fitness, as well as Holland and Barrett to support the nation stay strong for life by supporting everyday movement and recovery. In addition to all of that, she has just been appointed as London's first ever sports ambassador, focusing on advocating for equitable access to physical activity across all communities. A huge and very big warm welcome, Montell Douglas.
Thanks for having me. That was brilliant, by the way.
It's a nice way to start your day, isn't it? It's like, I've done all of that.
Who's that? I was like, oh.
She's pretty cool.
I love that. I need to actually steal that bio. That run through was the best I've ever heard it. Yeah, to be honest. I was like, wow, actually, very succinct. I love that.
So I was looking you up, obviously, wanting to find out what's the latest that you're up to only find a very, very recent article about you being appointed London's first ever sports ambassador. Yep. So huge congratulations.
Thank you.
It is very recent. Tell me about how you came to say yes to that. How did you get approached and what is it about the role that really appealed?
Gosh, so London Sport, when London Sport approached me to become the first ever ambassador, which would actually be my mind because the fact that there wasn't someone beforehand,
which I
think happens a lot in my career. I'm always like, how am I the first person to do that? Yeah. It's actually a crime for me that's not happened. Yeah. But to be honest, it was very easy, yes. I love advocating, obviously, for physical activity and sport through my life. I think I embody that in what I do. I kind of walk the walk before I talk the talk. I want people to be able to really look and go, that's what she's doing. So it makes sense when I'm talking about it. And I've had a long-standing relationship with them anyway, actually. It goes back 10 years now.
Okay.
I was actually their first ever London Sport Awards host. which was at the London Stadium, the Velodrome at the time. And this was like 2015. So we are looking at a 10-year relationship. I then joined them in 2019, I believe it was 2018-19, as a female participation mentor. And I was mentoring female business owners within communities, within building charities.
Oh, wow.
For example, I had a lady who was in the London, like Barking-Dagenham county, and she was starting up a skating community for women and girls. So she was promoting roller skating and teaching them how to skate and building confidence. And I was basically mentoring her through the process of developing that business idea. And it went all the way through. And that was something just because I really loved, helping people. And I really wanted to use the tiny bit of expertise that I had, the smallest thing that I could offer. And that was with them also. So I've worked in their projects and behind the scenes as a host.
Okay.
So to become the first ambassador was the most easiest win for me, because I'm really passionate about what they represent, and also I get to impact Londoners, which is obviously as a South Londoner, I've mentioned it very much time, I'm a proud South Londoner, that it was really important to me.
Yeah. And tell me about this, because the focus on this role is around equitable access. What are some of the inequities around health, fitness, sport that currently exist, not just in London, but just across the UK, wherever you go, you've been in the world? What do you see are the problems?
Where do we start? I mean, there are always issues across the board depending on demographic, location, resource, things like that. And the easiest things for us to say is, like physical access to certain opportunities for those, and we've been looking at tackling those things. But also it's kind of underrepresented groups, breaking barriers and stereotypes. It's a thing, like working on council estates. The moment you say the word "I'm working with council estates," so many things come to mind, and it's breaking down those barriers as well, to reframing how we perceive the people that we work and live around, and how the opportunities that are provided for them are in line with the things that they need. So, for example, with most recently, we've launched the More Ball Games campaign, which is basically looking at the 7,000 plus no ball game signs that are situated around London, that basically say to kids, they can't play there.
Yes.
And me as an 80s, 90s baby growing up in South London, all I did was play against balls and balls.
Exactly. Kick a ball around.
So, life's changed a lot. So the inequalities go around, how do we actually look at outdated kind of policies, things that maybe don't serve the communities that we are in now, and how we see the world and how opportunities arise, because young people and children, for example, are distracted by other things now. Whereas before we didn't have that. So that was our go-to. Whereas now they have that sign up. It's an easy way for them not to do something, because actually they've got 7,000 other things.
They've got a device, or they've got,
exactly, that they can tap into, which we didn't have. So it's looking at those things, but it's also looking at different groups, whether it's access to women-only swimming groups with the Muslim community of women, and making sure that when we are looking at we've got projects where if we're looking at actually providing that environment that's suitable for them, it's actually looking at also lifeguards being female, because you'll be surprised that happens where, you have a female-only group of women, specifically for the Muslim community, have a male lifeguard. And that immediately is the massive barrier, because actually that's not the environment in which we need to present for those women. And then it's another barrier for them, even in a position that's very specifically designed for them. So there's so many things that we can tackle, whether it's young people, whether it's very specific communities and groups. And I'm just trying to tap into as much as I possibly can, make impact, but also be able to add leverage to some of the campaign and really get in front of maybe the Mayor of London, maybe in front of the policies, get in front of the government to really make change, because we know that that's where the impact is really going to come from.
Yeah. What are the consequences? Or is it poor health for certain demographic of young people, or that we don't see? Yeah. We don't see then the talent coming through, and so therefore they don't make, for example, Team GB, for example, isn't as diverse because of these inequities. Is that the consequences?
That's one of the consequences, for sure. But, for example, Organisation London Sport, it's not about creating, for example, Olympians. It's about creating healthy habits. It's about the communities that they serve. It's about ensuring that everyone has the right and not the privilege to be active where they live and work. Do you know what I mean? It's that mindset. It's like it shouldn't be only accessible to everyone. I had that even back in the 90s and early 2000s, where I didn't always feel like I could belong in things that interested me in certain spaces. spaces. Like I've made it really clear that I was on an all-boy football team when I was 10 years old.
Were you?
As a striker. Yeah. I played centre
I
forward.
love that.
I was a striker and I was an all-boy football team all the way to 16 years old. Like I played in my secondary school boys football team as a striker. And so obviously the confidence and resilience that I have built through my life has come from being in those spaces, but not everyone has the confidence and also the support around them to really go into those spaces. But even from not even a sporting, competitive, like kind of goal and background, it's about you being able to feel confident to be able to just look after your own well-being and health. And also we're tackling other issues that exist in the world and in the UK and in London specifically with the appointment that we've got. It's looking at how do we actually use physical activity and sport as a vehicle to tackle those issues, because it's an easy win that we just don't consider. We don't look at the wider benefits that's going to impact on people around, and whether it is specific communities of maybe you've got young men that needed role models in the community, that now you've got people developing a boxing club for them so they've got another avenue to release themselves and not being able to be on the streets doing things that they might otherwise and shouldn't be doing. It's those things that we're looking at. There's always going to be issues across the board for different groups, and it's just looking at how that we can actually work not in silo as one organisation, but tap into as many as you possibly can to use other skill sets to really help move forward with the issues that we've got.
I love it. It's so powerful. Yeah. Your career is phenomenal, quite frankly. Like, I mean, what you have I assume it's your decision to put your body, to physically put your body, what you've put your body through, not just physically, but actually psychologically, emotionally. We know that being an athlete, being an Olympian, there's a lot of, mindset around that. And then Gladiators, right? And then Strictly Come Dancing. I mean, it's just constant physical, like pushing boundaries. So I'm interested in your drive. Like, where does that come from?
That is such an interesting question. And when you ask this, I was literally like, where actually does it come from? And it's bizarre because I honestly think it is from a very basic, generalized need and fundamental need from when I was very, very small for self-achievement. I've got extreme need to feel successful. For me, not from influence, not from even inspiration to inspire others, not for anything. It's almost a bit selfish. I don't like to have regrets in anything. I like to fulfill myself within the world as much as possibly can. I like to experience stuff as well. And I think I learned that from a young age. I learned that as I got older. I mean, I tell the story, it brings it home really. Like my first word was good. Right, it wasn't mum or dad. My first word was good because whenever, I think I'm a baby, and every time I did something, anything I did, my mum would say, good girl. And I would eat all my food. So a little tubby, I would stuff my face. And my mum would say, good girl. Yeah. So I built, an inner need to, one, please my parents, because as a baby, I think that's what you look towards, kind of that positive reinforcement. And I got a lot of it. So because I constantly was like, good girl, I suddenly thought, I got a little bit of praise. Let me do something else.
Yeah.
And I was constantly doing that for that kind of inner need for being like saying, getting the recognition for doing something good. And I think it shifted towards me doing it for me when I wasn't winning then. Because when you're not winning, you're not always maybe getting that praise. And I remember my first ever race, at school, I came second. I was in a boys' race. I wasn't allowed to race the girls.
What? Sorry, what? Why weren't you allowed to race with the girls? That's really bizarre.
It is really bizarre. So my dad thought the same thing. I wasn't very happy about it because in school, primary school, my teacher said to my dad it wasn't fair that I raced girls.
No.
Yeah, that was literally what they said.
No.
It's wild.
And what did your dad say? That's ridiculous.
He was fuming.
But you're a girl.
He really wanted to see me race, obviously, with the girls, like in the race that was intended for me.
Intended for you, and you would have blown it out the water. But fair's fair.
Yes. And it wasn't fair, apparently. That was what I got taught from a young age, that it wasn't fair that I was better than everyone else. That's something that I just loved to do. I was just naturally gifted at moving quickly. So I did boys race. And even in that scenario, in my first race, I remember I came second in that race. And that was the first time I realised my need for just being able to absolutely maximise myself. Like I got this real a rush of being like, I did my absolute best. And that's all I could ask for. And the fact that I came second, I didn't care that I came second. I was really, really proud that I just given my all. Because if you give your all, no one can ask anything else for you. There's nothing you could possibly have done. And so for me, not giving my all was never an option. I was like, from then on, I was like, you're going to give your all at everything you do. Doesn't matter what, give your best for everything. And that kind of just started the upward spiral, I would say. I wouldn't say downward spiral, to constantly challenge myself and push myself to say, just give it your best. Because I learned quickly as well that the more you do that, the more you're exposed to these new things, the more you develop your resilience. You know, you learn how to deal with problems and solve them. You learn how to challenge yourself in different ways. You surprise yourself. You grow. You come out your comfort zone. All of these skills are developed because I was saying yes to all these things.
Yes.
Even if I wasn't great with them at the beginning, because you're not always great at the beginning. Let me just give that very clear. I don't ever go into thing going, I'm going to nail this. Going to absolutely boss this. Never.
Really?
No, never. I never go in like that. I just go in there going, I'm going to do my best. Yeah. And then I kind of see where that sits. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, a lot of my fault is probably not backing myself enough. I always find that I surprise myself once I'm in it, because I was like, you didn't back yourself and you absolutely nailed that. But I never go in there thinking, I'm going to be the best at this. I just going, I'm going to do my best at this, and then we'll see what happens.
I mean, I'm still trying to get over the fact that you raced with the boys because the teachers thought it was unfair. I mean, that is just, it's absolutely ludicrous.
She did offer me £5 to do it. I was bribed, so...
The
I basically was a
teacher?
professional athlete, at 10 years old. She's like, give you £5 if you beat all the boys, as like an incentive. Can you imagine? So the fact that I didn't win and I still was going to get the £5, I didn't know at the time. And obviously £5 in the 90s is a lot of money.
That's quite a lot.
It's a lot of money.
That's not bad.
So yeah, that was my earliest memory. My earliest memories of my drive. And I think also noted that I was very privileged in that I had freedom of expression, which I very much recognised later on in my life by a lot of the kids that I coached and that I know from secondary school, who parents be like, you can't go to training because you've got studies to do. I never had that restriction from my parents, and I was an academic. Like, I made it very clear to people, I'm on my 3rd degree. I was always academic.
Yes.
I was always top sets in school because I love to learn. Like, I love to learn, which is why that's where my drive comes from. I love to do new things. I like to learn. I'm a bit of a geek like that. But I never had the restriction from my parents to say, you can't do this, or no, this is going to take away from that. They just were like, why not? They were like, yeah, do what you want. They were not fit. They were fearless in my failure, which I think was really important for me.
It's so important.
They allowed me to fail because, we fail, but they're not frightened. My parents are not frightened by failure. They're not kind of like, well, if it doesn't work, you just try it again or do something else. Do you know what I mean? And that was really important, because kids that walk along walls and parents go to save them. Yes. My parents let me fall and graze a knee. And then they went, come on then, get up. I mean, I've told the story before actually how I learned how to ride a bike. And I was in South London, Greenwich Park, one of the Queen's Parks, a lot of hills. If you ever know Greenwich Park, it's got a lot of hills. Dad took me to the top of the hill.
And?
Took my stabilisers off. 4 years old, pushed me down the hill. Yeah, that's literally... And obviously I fell off. I wasn't like the best rider. Trust me, my balance is not great even now. So you can imagine, I was falling off and he was like pushing me down. I was falling off multiple times. And I later on in life, I did ask him, like, Dad, that's a bit wild. You're 4 years old, that's
it's like taking a child and going, swim.
Literally like, don't drown. Literally like that. And he literally said the words, well, if you didn't want to die, he goes, you would have learned how to ride a bike. And that's that's literally the mindset though that I had. Like, the influence I had growing up was that my dad taught me resilience. He was like, go again and again and again. My mum taught me ambition. So you've got someone who's got high amounts of resilience on one side and high amounts of ambition, where she's like, go for the top. Which she always said to me, you have to work 10 times harder to get half. And that was the two, those are the staples of my upbringing. And that's where my drive came from. It was from, I was able to bounce back from anything. I had no fear in failure at that time. And I was able to then try and do the utmost things that, attack things that people had never done before. I was fearless in that because it didn't matter to me whether I failed or not.
I love it. And I have met your mum, and she is a phenomenal woman. She is something else, isn't she? I love her. Tell me what she meant by you have to work 10 times harder in order to get to half. Very
early on, so when I was in South London, where I was based in Lee Green and Lewisham, like, everyone everyone around me looked like me, talked like me. It's South London in the 90s. Huge Jamaican influence. My parents are English-born, Jamaican grandparents. And very early on, they were able to have conversations with me about, I guess, how they thought that I would be accepted into the world and also how I'd be perceived in the world. And I didn't
because of you being a black girl, or because of your stature, because of your abilities? What? For what?
Primarily race.
Okay.
So primarily being black, for sure. And it didn't matter that I was in an environment that everyone looked like me first, because, for example, I went to school like an hour and a half away where no one looked like me. And purely because my mum was like, didn't want me to be in the environment that we were in all the time. Because she was like, you're not going there. I was academic, I could get into really good schools. She was like, we're going there, and I had to travel to do that.
You travelled an hour and a half?
Yeah. Yeah, all from Catford all the way to Bromley.
Wow.
On the 2-8 bus. This is a long journey. It's a long journey to get there. Yeah. A long way. Just for her, I said what we call a better life.
Yeah. A
better opportunity and exposure. And I got, I guess I always said the best of both worlds, because I went to school there, for example, but I had to obviously come home.
Yeah.
So you come back to, that I was in Catford, and there was a lot of gang violence when I was growing up, like the 90s, for sure. It was like North v South, or it was like even South v South. There was a lot of things within into not even counties, like little towns, stuff called Peckham or Deptford or Catford, certain places you couldn't go to, things like that. So I got two sides of the both coin. I very much was like street smart, but also academic, because I had to be in that world. Yeah. So very early on, my mum definitely pushed this. She said these words to me a lot, and was just like, you're gonna have to work double, because the perception is that, you know, we have to work harder for just to get the smallest amount of maybe recognition, or to get, just to be be noted for anything that you've done. So I always knew how to work the most and expect the smallest, the littlest, which is a really tough thing to change your mindset over. Even if, like, you know, approaching 40, I still have to and it's still true now. I do feel like that's still true now. It's very prevalent. I notice it all the time in what I do. Even now, that it's very clear to me that that's the case. And that's not from a point of view from negativity where I'm going, I expect it to happen. No, it's undeniable at this point.
Tell me more, like what do you see in today's world that reflects what your mum has drilled into you and reinforced, that actually the world isn't fair and they will look at you and they'll perceive you in a certain way, and you're going to need to recognise that no matter how hard you work, there'll always be
that kind of fallback. I always think it's like someone just holding onto your thing a little bit. It's almost like, I always think of it in the sense of what I do as a sportswoman, my 100-metre sprint. It's like I'm in the call room and the race has started out there. The gun's gone off and I'm still in the call room, putting on my bibs, putting on my spikes, getting ready for this race. They're still checking all the things that I've got to do, making sure that my spikes are legal, making sure that my number's straight. But the race has already started outside. And it's like them expecting me to still win when I started the race 5 seconds later. And that's what it always feels like. It's not from a point of view where it's like you don't have privilege, you don't have resources, anything like that. Like, I had a lot of freedom to thingy, like my parents were together up until probably I was about 10 years old. So in terms of like single parent family, like they're very much, both mum and dad raised me in my mind, even though they split at 10, they lived together till I was like 16. Both my parents are around all the time. Even now, like I talk to them all the time. We had a really great relationship all round. So it's not kind of like the broken home even thing for me. It's the fact that they're very working class as well. Like they didn't go to further education at all. 16, went to work straight away. So we learned how to graft. But now I see it in the fact that more from the reception I get from others, I get it from people telling me that that's the case. And non-black people telling me. Because number one, I'll get things like, why don't we know who you are? And I'm just like, why would you know? And in my mind, I'm like, why would you know who I am? Then I was like, well, first of all, actually, I've been a history maker more than once.
Yes.
And not being one of the fastest British women of all time at one point, not being the only British woman to do something now, prevalently. Those things, if I wasn't, the question that I get from people go, well, if you didn't look like you weren't you, do you think that it would be more loudly celebrated?
Yes.
And I can't disagree with that. To be honest.
Yeah. And
it's difficult to, do you know what I mean? It's difficult because I'm just like, well, I'm happy with everything I have right now.
Yes.
But at the same point, I'm like, actually, would it be? And I see it in other. I first noticed it really in others because I don't really always look at myself and like, I'm not an entitled person at all, which is to a fault almost. Like I feel like I don't deserve anything, which is worse than not being entitled at all. When you feel like, well, why do we deserve? I don't deserve. I earn everything.
Yeah.
So the mindset is that you work harder to get more rather than being like, well, no, you've worked enough to get what you've got. Like at least celebrate that. So when I see others, I have other friends that have, for example, won Olympic medals, have won multiple Olympic medals, have come back. And the treatment that they get, for me, is wild in the sense that they're household names in the sport and the country that we live in, that we represent, and they get absolutely nothing. And I feel like their counterparts that don't look like them, that have even less achievements. You know, if you've got an Olympic gold and silver medal, and you know, you're in it, like you're in it for whatever. You got others that maybe like me who haven't got Olympic medals that might have another achievement, but don't look like you, flying high, constantly spoke about, constantly celebrated. And it's just like, well, what's the difference? And we struggle to see the difference. Like, I would love someone to explain to me, if it's not that, then what is it? And because we can't see the reason, we have to go by it's that. How do I guess what it is then? I'm like, there's no reason for it. And that's why it's very prevalent to me in terms of kind of like the response I have from others, because I feel like there's more reasons to not back and support and be engaged with me than there are. Because I look at myself as a strong, black, powerful, in the sense of looking powerful woman. I don't think that that's the most warming, receptive kind of representation that people want to like stand beside. I don't feel that. Yeah. I feel like it can be quite intimidating and threatening, and people don't like to be intimidating and threatening. Yeah. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm the most least intimidating person of all time.
You genuinely are.
I'm genuinely the friendliest person you ever meet. So,
having said that, I really, on a night out, if I'm walking home at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m, I definitely want you to be walking.
I never have a problem.
As a good friend, I'd choose you over some of my other good friends just because I'm actually...
They're not going to bother me.
Yeah. You're powerful and you're beautiful and you're incredibly entertaining and funny. But alongside that, you know,
I'm scared.
You're
scary. That's what the men say, I know. I'm so scared.
I don't want you running after me, in Unleash, that's for sure.
It can be quite, and I get that because I'm like, gosh, I would actually, and sometimes I look outside myself and go, actually, I'd probably be scared of me. And it is that's it. I had that even growing up. Like growing up, like I was bullied. People don't even know that. Like when I was younger, in primary school, bullied the whole way through primary school, bullied, awful, jealousy. And it was jealousy. We know that. I know that now. I knew that then. It's just the way that obviously girls they find their own confidence in themselves, and some find confidence in putting others down. Yeah. Because the moment they can suppress you, they feel better about themselves. And the moment that those people left school was like, oh my gosh, dream. The last 2 years, they were 2 years above me. It was a dream for me because it was like my whole school life was so different then. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't just, I don't want to not say anything because you just worry about standing out and being. But one thing is that even with all this, everything that went through in school and stuff, I never felt like I said, I've never had a fight before. And I honestly say that because I was like, guys, look at me. At 11, 10 years old, I was 5'8". No matter how unscary I am and friendly I am, and I was probably the most timid out of all my friends. My friends have got a lot of mouth. They would also almost back me a lot of the time. But I would never be, no one would ever, I was like, no one's gonna put my hands on me. I said, but would you put your hands on me? Because you wouldn't. They wouldn't. And I said they wouldn't dare. Yeah. And it's because the perception was like, oh my goodness, even though I was like a big friendly giant, they would never know that. That's why I never had any issues with fights at school or something, because people just wouldn't even try. They would think smartly, like, I'm not gonna go there. Even if sometimes they wanna try and test the biggest person in the room. That's more of I think a male dominated kind of mindset, especially younger. I find that with kids that are bigger, they want to test them. With girls, they're not going to fight me. They'll pick on my friends that are smaller than me because they feel that they can.
Hey everyone. If you're enjoying this episode and want to further expand your thinking and develop your leadership, I've written a book that you might find useful. It's called Beyond Discomfort: Why Inclusive Leadership is So Hard and What You Can Do About It. If you're a leader or aspiring to be one, and you're trying to navigate the challenges of building truly inclusive organisations, this book is for you. Leading inclusively can often be hugely uncomfortable, and the reality is making real change takes effort, self-awareness, and often needs you to lean in to some tough truths. And that's exactly what my book addresses. Beyond Discomfort dives into the why behind inclusive leadership challenges. It explores the biases, fears, and blind spots that often hold leaders back from creating truly diverse and inclusive workplaces. But here's the best part. It doesn't leave you hanging. It provides actionable strategies that you can start implementing today to make a real impact, not just in your workplace, but in your own growth as a leader. With practical insights, real-world examples, and exercises to help you reflect on your own leadership style, this book will guide you through overcoming the discomfort and unlocking the power of inclusion in your organisation. As a YCare listener, you can get 30% discount on your copy of Beyond Discomfort by going to my publisher's website, practicalinspiration.com, and using code YCARE30. That's YCARE30. All this information is in this episode show notes page of my website, nadianagamootoo.com/podcast. Grab your copy of Beyond Discomfort today. Now back to the show. It feels like you're in a bit of a no-win situation here, which is where you're, as a black young woman, obviously at the time at school, you're not quite, you're a threat, or for whatever reason, you've got your peers, your female peers thinking, well, she doesn't fit with us. It feels like it's a painful way to grow up when no matter what you do, just from nothing you've done, just your physicality and who you are, you stand out and you're not going to belong.
Yeah. And the standing out thing is really poignant because that's the thing. I've never wanted to stand out. Like hated even winning, because then it meant accolade. It meant people going, oh my gosh, you hated that. Like really wanted to just be in the background.
Yes.
And I recently actually was at a London Sport event, meeting, networking with new people that we haven't worked together with. And we were with Sachi and Sachi, who support us, who are working collaboration with London Sport. And I met them, amazing people. And two of the representatives were there, the MD was there, and this other lady, she's great. And I said to her, I had certain top on, red, matched the branding. And I was just like, I was going in there wondering if I was going to just like, hopefully I don't blend in. And she was like, let me just put this out there. She's like, you never blend in. And I was like, she looked 5 seconds, she met me 5 seconds ago. I was like, thanks for saying that. She said, no, in case she didn't know. She's like, you never blend in. And I'm like,
but now it's a compliment.
Kind of the thing though. Yeah, it's kind of like, I can't, because I'm 5'10", big hair, like you don't really blend in. And I've never liked center of attention. You ask my mum, she doesn't even get it. She's literally like, I just don't understand you. I don't get it. She's never got that with me. And I'm just like, I just don't have a desire to do that. I've never had one desire to do that. And it's why also it's been harder to kind of like fight for that recognition and go, I deserve this. Yeah. I've just always thought, no, you work for what you get and then you get what you work for. And in my case, to be honest, have I? Absolutely, probably not. Like, I haven't always, I don't think, got exactly what maybe you would expect for someone to have from the things that you say, because like you did at the beginning, so lovely. Like when you're reeling off things like that, I'm like, even me, I'm like, there's a lot in there actually.
There's a lot.
Able to achieve. And even for me to say that, I'm like, but actually that's hard work. That's also talent. That's determination. It's all those things. And it's also from a point of view where I've wanted to use it to empower others to feel that they can do the same. But do you feel like you've been hard done by in some things? And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, all the time. Like you said, I've had to work 10 times harder than a lot of people to even get scraps. Like it's like everyone ate at the table and then they go, you can come in now, Mont. And then I've basically been challenged to really see if I can clean the table the best. Yeah. And that's what I'm getting recognised for. Like, have I left no crumbs? Literally, that's kind of, that's what it sometimes can feel like. It's like at the end, because sometimes, the disrespect is quite prevalent. It's quite real. It really is.
Let's go to Strictly Come Dancing now, because there's a link in what you've just said, which, another hugely physically demanding environment. You threw yourself in. You had the wonderful Johannes Hadabi to support you through. My family and I watched you, we were huge fans. We thought you danced incredibly. There's no other word for it. And yet you found yourself in the dance-off week on week on week. Now, we know, obviously Johannes is a black gay man. You being, as we've just said, a woman who goes against some of the, stereotypical things that we think of as what feminine or what a woman is.
Yeah.
Did that play a part, do you feel, in this continual kind of voting off process?
Short answer, yes. We always knew that it was going to be tough from the very beginning. Very beginning. We're very aware of the situation. Quietly, in the sense of, I didn't think it in my mind. I was actually really excited, obviously, about the partnership because Jojo. Let's still get twisted. I didn't want it any other way. I was ready to take everything, like stakes, whatever comes our way. I was ready for it because I was like, I wouldn't want it any other way. So in that, I got everything that I wanted, knowing what it was going to mean.
Yeah.
Know immediately. With also kind of making history on that show as the first fully diverse couple that no one speaks about. And that will have its challenges because you represent so much, but also that means you go against the majority, okay? When you are diverse and it's nuanced and it's kind of like, that's what it means in itself, right, to be diverse. It's not like everyone, it's not the same. It's not the majority of what everyone is. And also, Jojo's absolutely loved as on the show, absolutely loved. I can't think of anyone that doesn't love this man as a core human being and also what he represents for the show.
Yes.
But it does come with its issues. And I think going on the show, like, number one, entertainment, dance show, talent show, not fully about the best dancers. That's not what the show is about. The show's been going on for 20 years and people know that not always best dancers go through because it's entertainment as well,
yes.
right? We just put it out there, we know that. But we all do our best that we possibly can when we're on there in terms of dancing.
Yeah.
And it's a vehicle in which we entertain. That's what that is for that show.
Sure.
And knowing that it was going to be tricky because of the fully diverse couple, I also was very aware that, I went in there an absolute nobody. I'm going to make that very clear. No.
No, I went in there an absolute Fire, no?
Yeah, but if I've been on TV for 5 minutes, literally 6 minutes, I think it was actually my fully showtime from season 1, 6 minutes of airtime on TV. Forget all the other stuff because no one knows. No one doesn't care. Unless you're on the screen. 6 minutes of airtime to go on the biggest shows on television with about 5,000, I think, if that follows. I don't even know how many I had at the time. Very small. We've got people that have got 1 point something million people behind them on social media. Okay. That's on one platform. So if we talk about just in terms of eyes on the show, voting power, influence, and what you need for the show, and the popularity thing around it, because let's not get twisted, popularity can save you on that show.
Yes.
Because you need people to vote in. And we had so much support, honestly. The Mojo fans, seriously, our Team Mojo were out in full force. And the thing about that is that they're like lifelong. People still message and still back and still support, and it's lovely. It genuinely is. And that's what kind of carried us through. But that's what we're up against. So I feel like me going in there as that. Yeah. Also, I feel like there's certain things that will also, just for that particular, our group were an amazing group. They said it was one of the highest standards for many years. Few people, like a lot of people had said it on the show, behind the scenes, said that it was a bit wild, which is great for the show. And we absolutely had the best time. But I did think, I was like, it is going to be tricky because how much do we resonate with those that are watching, even if they love the show and they think they deserve it. And, but when you're third and fourth on the leaderboard with still 12 couples in and you're in a dance-off, all I kept on hearing was like, this is unheard of.
Yes.
Like everyone, constantly. Like, even if you know the show, and I've watched the show for years, and even that years, maybe not so much, but it's you know it. That doesn't happen. And they kept on saying to me, this doesn't happen. And people were almost worried because it's like, why is that happening?
Yeah. And
I was like, I can tell you why I think it's happening without it being about those things, without it being about us being a fully diverse couple, without it being about those that. But does that have a part to play in it? Well, it absolutely will have a part to play in stuff. I got a message, and this is quite frank, to be fair. This is like very full disclosure. I got a message, a DM, quite a few weeks after the show, around Christmas, after we'd left. And a lady messaged me and said, her words, I am a white, middle-aged woman, older woman. She said, what's happened for you on the show is outrageous. And I want you to know that I absolutely vote for you, absolutely love you, support you. Just want you to know that you're fantastic. You guys are fantastic. And I found that was very poignant. Obviously, firstly, that she announced herself for her demographic.
Yeah, right.
And I think that the reason why she did that, she knows why she did that.
Yes.
And I understood why she did that. And I was like, wow, if she's saying that, and it's come from anyone else. I've never ever said anything about that on my platform or show. I never said it in any story. I never had I never captioned it, nothing. I never hinted about anything like this because I take everything how it is, and it is what it is. And it's my experience and our experience together that we put through. There's no excuses, there's no all that kind of stuff. Just like, it is what it is. But for her to send me that message, I was like, wow. It really took me aback. And I thought, so I'm not mad.
Right.
Other people aren't mad.
Right.
This is actually happening. But also there are people there that are supportive, which for her to put, she didn't have to do that. For her to say that, because there was a lot of talk online.
Yeah.
A lot of talk online. I mean, the great thing about it is when we left, I was trending on Twitter, which is wild. And my name, and bearing in mind, I came on the show as Aspire.
Aspire, yeah.
Right? And no one ever knew anything else. No one even knew who Montell was, which I loved about the show. Being able to showcase me behind Fire.
Exactly.
And I get known for stuff that I've actually done before the show.
Yeah.
But people get to know me for just who I am, which is really nice. But my name, #Montell, was trending on Twitter after we left. And my friend messaged me, when you're trending on Twitter. And I said, what is going on here? And I didn't look. I never engaged in all that stuff because if you look, you'll see bad stuff. You see good. So I try not to. And I just saw whoever was directly on my page to me. And from those supporters onwards. Because if you look for stuff, you'll find it. And she said it's all positive though. People were rallying about how they felt about the decision, how they felt about us being out the show, how they're going to miss all those kinds of lovely things.
Amazing.
And that just felt great because it did feel like there are, the amount of support we get is, there were so many thousands of people out there that were really supporting. There were so many others that were supporting others. But I'm just grateful for the ones that we did have for the show. But it was, it was tough. It was really tough because you want to shield stuff. I don't know if I mentioned to you before, actually, about, and I can say this now because it's done. I felt like I might have been muscly. I've got a very muscly body. And I felt that it was probably doing me a disservice showing those muscles on the show.
Because they talk about lines, don't they? And there's clarity, certainly in judges' minds and people's minds, around what a feminine line looks like. Is that what you mean?
Exactly that. And I felt that if I move my body in a certain way, it will always look a certain way. And it might not always look how... It doesn't mean I'm not doing it. Trust me, I'm doing it because my athlete mindset, right? I'm like drilling it. I was like...
Precise. And you got Jojo
and he does not play. He was just on it, didn't play. And we knew we couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
Which also goes back to the thing of trying hardest.
Yes.
We could not afford to really even enjoy the amazing things we were going to, invited to, all those things in the week, because we had to work our butts off to make sure that we did get 39 at the score. Yeah. Because 39 could put us in a dance-off. But at least we knew then that it wasn't because of our dancing. At least we knew then that if we were in a dance-off, the judges couldn't say that this was bad, this was this bad. They were like, this is great dancing. And that will save us. And we knew that and had to work 10 times harder than some. Honestly, work hard. There was no playing around in that sense. We really had to pull up the stops because we couldn't afford to be bad. Like I said, if you're top 3 and 4 and you're in a dance-off and it consistently happens, you now can't afford to be bad, which then changes the dynamic of the show.
Yeah.
Because suddenly I'm like, I can't afford to have a mispointed toe in my passo when I get 37 or 30 out of 40 because of that. When someone else might actually go off beat, for example, completely go off beat.
Which happened.
And make mistake.
Yeah, which happened.
And still not be in a dance-off.
Yes.
It's a very different game you're playing there. It's a very different competition when it's not level playing field. Yeah. Because there are things that, like I said, and this is like I said in life in general, that I just couldn't get away with, that others might have been able to get away with.
Yeah.
But then there are also people have their own, I understand that people have their own challenges, and which is why I didn't take it, it's not a personal thing to me or them. I just supported everyone on the show. Yeah. We'd joke around stuff to each other. I would be like, and I was just like, no matter what, all I can do, which is my athlete mindset thing, was control the controllables. Yeah. My controllables was how well I did on the show, was how hard I worked, was how well we performed when we were out there in those 90 seconds to a minute, was what I said. They're the only things I could control. What the public do is totally up to them, and everyone's got their opinion. And we had so much amazing support, and I loved every single one of them for that.
Yes.
But that's the only thing I could control was that. And so I did. We just honed into what we could control because we knew that we were, we were up against it a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, absolute hats off to you both for, because there's a lot of psychology there around a mindset that you need to approach that when you enter something, knowing how the world perceives you and actually that it isn't a level playing field. So I can't believe we're almost at time. I have a quick fire round for season 6. I haven't told you about.
Kind of pun intended, quick fire.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah. A quick fire round. Right, so I've got 5 questions for you, Montell.
Okay.
Your ideal evening with friends.
Ideal evening? Just at someone's house.
Yeah.
Go around, go chat about them being on the apps. Not me being on the apps. getting all the issue goes. Talking about life. Just that's my ideal thing with friends. Like connecting with my besties.
Yeah.
And catching up on life because life can be busy is my ideal evening for sure.
Food. Nice food.
Definitely food. We don't even probably we're cooking. We're probably all bringing something.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, probably bringing something and then
just sit down and chat.
But my contribution is generally like popcorn, not gonna lie.
Popcorn, yeah. Ah, nice. If you could only choose one Olympic event you've never tried.
Ironically, it would be the heptathlon.
The heptathlon?
Yeah, definitely.
Whoa,
yeah,
okay.
I did always want to do, not always wanted to do it, but later on in my career, I wished I had tried it.
Okay.
Because I think I could have done it. Yeah. Especially once, after my sprinting Olympics, I think from 22 onwards, I was in a great position, I think, physically, where I could tackle a lot of those events.
Yes.
I started with high jump. I had them quite covered. There was only maybe like the 800 that's not covered at the end that I think would have been the most struggle. But even then, I was at my fittest. I mean, I could run a 54, so I could probably get down to 400 meter run, I think. So I think I could still have got, I mean, I used to run 2.5 for 800s in training, 2 minutes 30, and I had to run 2 in 10 minutes. As a sprinter, a pure sprinter, which is
very good.
The way we train.
Yeah.
So I think I could have got down to, 215, 209. It would have been half decent for a heptathlon. Yeah, for definitely. I would have done hept because I want to do, I'm greedy. So why would you not want to do like 7 events? I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I'd love it. Yeah. And they're very much geared as well to power.
Yes, so, which is your bag.
Long jump, absolutely run and jump. I did high jump when I started. Hurdles is run and jump. I've got great levers for shot put and jav because my levers are long and I'm good at technical stuff. I can do it well. And then we just throw an 800 at the end. You're already tired by then. It's fine. Done. Would have loved to have done heptathlon. Yeah. I still want to do one day. I've always said this, just for jokes, somewhere for jokes. Like over 40s, like a master's event, anything. I could do it.
And mainly just because
I want to learn how to do all the events.
Yeah.
Nothing else, just because I want to learn to.
Good fun. Yeah. I love it. Your go-to karaoke song?
Go-to is Do Wop, that thing, Lauryn Hill. Literally, that's my go-to karaoke song. That or like, definitely that. Or ballad. And ballad-wise, it would probably be, I love a duet though, would be like Adele. Oh, it could be any Adele songs, because I pretty much know most of them. Or a Whitney song.
Yeah, I could see you doing Whitney.
I always spell out Whitney. I do lose my voice afterwards though.
Yeah, well.
Because it's,
Yeah.
But definitely that. But that, I'd go straight to the rap first. That's my thing is literally, I could do it word for word.
Love it. Brilliant. One moment in your career that still gives you goosebumps.
Oh, that's interesting. One moment in my career.
When you think of it, it just...
You know what? The first time I walked out, it wasn't even the thing that I did. The first time I walked out to my Olympic 100-meter heat, Bird's Nest, Beijing, 80,000 people in that stadium. Like, it's loud. And just standing there going, it's just a little old me standing here like, I'm about to run Olympic Games. Like, I will never forget that. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And the 100-meter looks so far.
Yeah.
Because it's so big. Like, it looks like in a movie where it kind of extends and it's kind of like playing tricks on you. Where not in the far where I was thinking, gosh, I've got a long way to run. But just like the whole thing felt bigger.
Wow.
And I think you just can't replicate that. No. Like thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to represent a country, and they just put the camera in front of your face and then the roar
Wow.
It's just like, whoa. And then 11 seconds, it's gone. After 11 seconds, it's finished. Yeah, that. I think that will never get old for me, because that was the beginning of a lot of things.
Yeah.
To everything.
Yeah. The TV show you'd most like to be on?
Oh, that's interesting now. I get this a lot now, and I never know the answer. Never know the answer about what I want to do. They always ask what you want to do now. Most want to be on is Tricky, because I've actually done the one that I wanted to do. Strictly, it was the one thing that I wanted to do. The only thing I was like, I want to do. So now it's kind of like, I've never been in TV where I want to do that. It's so hard. Do you know what? I tell you what, not most thing I want to do, but one that I considered doing before I said no. I very rarely say no to anything. Mm-hmm. But what I always said, I'm never doing, I'm a celeb. I always said, I'm not doing it. I can't. I said, I can't. It's everything. It's the one thing that I've always said no. That
I'm not surprised.
I can't. It's just so hard. It's so many, you're hot, you're sweaty, you're hungry. I'm scared of heights, I'm scared of bugs, I'm scared of spiders. There's so many things that it's like going to be, it's just hell. Like, absolute pure hell.
There's no judgment from me.
There's so much challenge there that I said no. And then after Strictly, my whole mindset changed. Suddenly I went, I would actually rather do it.
No, really?
Because Strictly was really hard. Not because like just physically, emotionally, all those things. It was difficult. And it's a big challenge than what you think it is. Like, it's all guns. No, it's not just all roses, because it's difficult. You're dancing for 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's a lot. In a heel, it's a lot. Not just physically, but you've got TV, you've got emotions, you've got all those things you're dealing with. And it changed my perception for me to be like, I always said no to that, and I never say no to stuff, but it would be the biggest challenge ever. Because there's so many things in there that are out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Like, and heavily out of my comfort zone, where even I would struggle with. Like, even I saying I do my best, but even that I'd be like, I don't even want to do my best. It's painful. Like, it's really hard. So I've always said no, but I would now say yes.
She would consider.
I wouldn't like it, but mentally, my brain goes, you don't like being scared of things, do it.
Yeah.
Overcome it, go. So yeah, I'm a celeb. Biggest challenge probably, I think, of anyone's life, for sure.
Montell, thank you. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for being so open and honest. If people want to get in touch, follow you on socials, how can they get hold of you?
So most places, everywhere, I'm Monty Trackstar, and Montell Douglas on other platforms like TikTok and stuff. Yes. So yeah, you'll be able to find me.
Yes, you definitely be able to find me.
Always say hi.
Yes, be nice, but say hi.
I always say hi.
So everything that you're going to, if you want to go on to find more about Montell, it's on the show notes page, the usual place, nadianagamootoo.com/podcast. And thank you once again, Monty, for sharing so much and being so open. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found it valuable and insightful. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love for you to stay connected. Make sure you follow me on YouTube so you can be the first to know when new episodes are released. You can find me by searching for Nadia Nagamootoo or just clicking the link in the show notes. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review on your podcast player. Your feedback helps me reach more people and make the show even better. It only takes a few seconds and it really means the world to me. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next time.